Stephen's true intentions in Tell Me Lies are one of the most unsettling parts of the series because they're never fully spelled out, yet they become clearer the more you watch his patterns repeat. On the surface, Stephen often presents himself as complicated rather than cruel, wounded rather than malicious. But when you strip away his charm, his excuses, and his carefully curated vulnerability, what's left is a person whose primary motivation is control. Stephen doesn't move through relationships looking for mutual growth or emotional partnership. He moves through them looking for leverage, reassurance, and a way to protect his fragile sense of self, even if that means hurting others in the process. From the very beginning, Stephen's interactions are calculated. He knows exactly how to read people, especially Lucy. He figures out what makes her feel insecure, what makes her feel special, and what makes her feel afraid of losing him. This isn't accidental. Stephen is highly observant, and he uses that awareness strategically. His intention isn't simply to be loved, it's to be indispensable. He wants Lucy to feel like her emotional stability depends on him, because that dependency gives him power. When someone needs you more than you need them, you get to set the rules, and Stephen understands that instinctively. One of Stephen's most revealing traits is how he controls the narrative. He constantly reframes situations to position himself as the victim or the misunderstood party. When he hurts Lucy, he rarely takes full responsibility. Instead, he shifts the focus to his own trauma, his difficult upbringing, or the stress he's under. This doesn't mean his pain isn't real, but it does show how he weaponizes it. His true intention isn't healing, it's deflection. By centering his own suffering, he avoids accountability and keeps Lucy emotionally tethered to him through guilt and sympathy. Stephen's intentions also become clear in how he handles conflict. He doesn't seek resolution. He seeks advantage. When Lucy expresses hurt or confusion, Stephen often responds by withdrawing, going cold, or becoming emotionally distant. This silence isn't accidental. It's a punishment. He knows Lucy fears abandonment, and he uses that fear to regain control of the situation. The moment she starts doubting herself or apologizing just to restore the connection, Stephen has achieved exactly what he wants. His intention in these moments is not to fix what's broken, but to re-establish dominance. Another key aspect of Stephen's true intentions is his need to preserve his self-image at all costs. Stephen cannot tolerate being seen as the villain, even when his actions clearly cause harm. This is why he lies so easily and so often. The lies aren't just about avoiding consequences. They're about maintaining an internal story where he's justified. If Stephen admitted the full truth, he'd have to confront parts of himself he's deeply uncomfortable with. His selfishness, his lack of empathy in critical moments, and his tendency to exploit emotional vulnerability. His intention, then, is self-protection above all else. Stephen's relationships with people other than Lucy further expose his mindset. He doesn't form deep, emotionally reciprocal bonds. Instead, his connections are transactional. People are useful to him in specific ways, whether it's social standing, emotional validation, or cover for his actions. Once someone stops serving a purpose or starts challenging his behavior, he distances himself or rewrites the relationship in his mind to justify pulling away. This pattern suggests that Stephen's true intention is never connection for its own sake. It's always about what he can gain or avoid losing. What makes Stephen particularly dangerous isn't that he's openly cruel, but that he blends sincerity with manipulation so seamlessly. There are moments when he appears genuinely affectionate, vulnerable, or remorseful. But these moments often surface when he senses he's losing control or when Lucy is close to pulling away. His intention in showing vulnerability isn't necessarily to build trust, it's to reset the balance. By revealing just enough pain, he keeps Lucy emotionally invested, hoping that understanding him will eventually lead to change. But change is never his real goal. Stephen's refusal to grow is one of the strongest indicators of his true intentions. Over time, Lucy evolves emotionally, even if painfully and inconsistently. Stephen, however, remains largely the same. He repeats the same behaviors, makes the same excuses, and causes similar harm. This stagnation isn't accidental. Growth would require him to relinquish the control he relies on. It would require him to sit with guilt and take responsibility without expecting immediate forgiveness or emotional reassurance. His intention, instead, is to maintain the status quo, where his needs come first. There's also a deep fear driving Stephen that shapes his intentions, fear of abandonment and inadequacy. Rather than confronting this fear in healthy ways, he externalizes it. He tries to ensure that he's never the one left behind by making sure he always has the upper hand. If Lucy is confused, insecure, or emotionally dependent, then Stephen feels safe. His intention isn't necessarily to destroy Lucy, but he's willing to let her be collateral damage if it means protecting himself from feeling powerless. Perhaps the most telling sign of Stephen's true intentions is how little space he leaves for Lucy's autonomy. Her feelings are often minimized, questioned, or reframed. Her reactions are treated as overreactions. Her boundaries are subtly eroded. Stephen doesn't want a partner who challenges him or exists independently of him. He wants someone who orbits him, someone whose emotional world revolves around his moods and decisions. That desire speaks volumes about his intentions because it reveals a fundamental lack of respect for Lucy as a fully autonomous person. In the end, Stephen's true intentions in Tell Me Lies are not about love, even though love is the language he uses. They're about control, self-preservation, and avoiding accountability. He isn't actively plotting harm in every moment, but his priorities consistently place his comfort and ego above anyone else's well-being. That's what makes him such a compelling and disturbing character. He doesn't see himself as the villain, but his intentions ensure that the damage he causes is real, lasting, and deeply personal.